Day two, ladies and gentlemen. Back-to-back uploads. I don't think has happened for quite some time, to be completely honest, but I am here and ready to go. Day two of every team, talking about them, breaking them down. I'm pretty much going in alphabetical order. If you didn't watch yesterday's video, the Chicago Bulls. Today is your day. Although, as it currently stands, the Chicago Bulls really have not done a lot. There have been sort of talks around the Chicago Bulls in terms of the biggest one being Jonathan Kuminga, who will be more than likely a sign and trade for the Warriors, which he is all signs pointing towards Chicago. Chicago apparently want him. He'll be good for their young rebuild, all sorts of that nature. But other than that, the Chicago Bulls really have not done much. Other than they lost Lonzo Ball, who was the last person a part of that core, guys of Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, that sort of core. You still have Vucevic, who's on a big expiring contract. He's realistically the only older guy in the camp now. With Lonzo being gone, and Lonzo, I think, 27 years old, 28 years old now, he is starting to get a little bit older. But trading him in a one-for-one deal for literally just Isaac Okoro really doesn't feel like a lot if I'm a Bulls fan. Lonzo Ball, we know how good he is if he's healthy and shooting the ball at a high clip like he can do at times. But for majority of this past sort of season or so, him being injured has obviously hurt his stock. But I just don't see a world where he's only worth one player who, yes, was drafted 4th overall 5 years ago. But at the same time, he really didn't make much of an impact for the Cavs. He's a 3-and-D sort of wing guy. Shot horribly from the field this year, and was basically unplayable for majority of the Cavs season. And now it's about the only thing that has come from the Chicago Bulls in this entire offseason. There's Ayo Dosunmu who's still on contract. Josh Giddey has started to show sparks of how good Josh Giddey can be, both as a facilitator and a part-time scorer. Kobe White was rumoured in trades to multiple different places, including the Magic, including the Warriors. It kind of got thrown around, but it was never really confirmed. It's literally for the Bulls just a case of waiting to see what happens with this Kuminga deal, if they actually end up sticking their necks out and going for him. Because Kuminga and Josh Giddey, I feel like, is a really solid young core. Not the most major amount of shooting between that core, obviously. Jonathan Kuminga is a good shooter at times, but can also go through struggle periods quite easily. And Josh Giddey, as great of a passer and as great of a facilitator as he is, his jump shot can be any which way. You can get a day where Josh Giddey can hit 5 threes, and you can get a day where Josh Giddey can't hit any threes. So yeah, it's a tough one for the Bulls and Bulls fans and basically everyone in order to do with this association. They're continuing to sell tickets and make profits and make basically billions of dollars every year just to be a mediocre basketball team. When in the 90s and the 2000s, there was promise for the Chicago Bulls that they looked like they were going to be one of these teams where they were basically going to be good forever. And you've got the signings of Patrick Williams, who, let's be honest, Patrick Williams, 3rd overall draft pick, or 4th, sorry, he was behind Wiseman and LaMelo on that, is really bad. Patrick Williams really has not given them any glimpses at all within this last 2 or 3 years that he's been running with the team. He's just a solid mid-level exception power forward. And he is this guy that you drafted 5 years ago that you expected to be the best player on the court. really isn't happening for the Bulls. Unless they do something dramatic in these last 2 years, or in the next sort of 2 years, they are just rolling over. And it really, really hurts if you're a Chicago Bulls fan. Because if you're a diehard fan, like me, if I was a Warriors, I'm always going to be a Warriors fan, I would pay to see the team if it absolutely sucked. Like if it was in that 2020 sort of era where we had Kai Bowman starting at the starting point guard position. Shout out Kai Bowman. I don't know where he is in life anymore, but yeah. If I'm a Bulls fan, I'm really quite pissed off because the front office really isn't moving. They feel like they're getting fleeced literally every time they make a deal. You literally sent Zach LaVine last year over to the Sacramento Kings for a bag of chips. They really got nothing because I think it was a part of a 3-team deal, and in the end, the Chicago Bulls only got like a second-round pick and one different player. I forget who the player was now, but they've just... It's really hard. This team had so much promise 3 years ago. They were in the goddamn playoffs with a team with DeMar DeRozan, who was playing at the absolute peak of his basketball career, what felt like it was a second wind. He was hitting game-winning shots every other night. He was the best fourth quarter player in all of basketball. And now you've not sent only him, but Zach LaVine, who was your other best player who you'd kept around for about 10 years, and just traded him away for absolutely nothing. I don't know what the Bulls can do. To be completely honest, they just have a lot of pieces. They have no guys that can really run the floor, can really control what goes on in a game. They just have a lot of guys. Kobe White is the only player that I would pick as maybe can potentially be that guy in a couple of years' time because he can score the hell out of the basketball. That's as basic as it gets. But he is the only person on that team. Vucevic is getting older. His contract's about to expire. Who knows where he's going to go. And, he could end up on another team for free because he will sign a vet minimum deal in free agency and you will lose your center who has been your best centerpiece for the last 5 to 10 years. So much can happen in 10 years. Like, 10, 15 years ago, the Bulls were on top of the world with Derrick Rose until he got injured. Had Carlos Boozer, Joakim Noah, the best defensive player in basketball at the time. And now you're starting with Pat Williams at your 4 spot. And he's giving you absolutely nothing on a night-to-night basis. I forget who their draft pick was now. I'm pretty sure he was sort of a big man guard, like a bigger guard sort of thing. It'll really just depend on his progress. Hopefully they drafted well. I think it was like the 12th overall draft pick or so on. Hopefully all goes well and he actually blossoms into a somewhat serviceable basketball player. Otherwise, it's grim for the Chicago Bulls again this year. I don't expect them to make a play-in spot. I don't expect them to make any noise towards the playoffs next year. Even if the restricted free agent Jonathan Kuminga comes over and gives them what he can give them on a night-to-night basis, I don't see a world where they make a play-in spot. They have positive impacts at times from players, but it's never enough to say that they're actually going to build a formidable team that can go out and compete on an NBA floor on a night-to-night basis. That's really it. It's a shorter video for the Bulls today because unlike the 76ers yesterday, the 76ers have sort of made some moves here and there and they actually have a lot of promise on the guys that they already have. They already have a superstar. When the Bulls don't have that. The Bulls, it's hard for the Bulls. I don't know where they go to from here, but for the most part, it's basically just going to be a case of, what they can do is what they'll do. That's it. I don't really have any more to say on the Bulls, unfortunately. I wish I could. As I said, if they end up making this Kuminga deal, it'll be short-form contact because I'll get out a TikTok or YouTube short or something of that nature, just to sort of talk about it and see if it changes their ceiling after the deal's done, and depending on what the trade actually is. We'll get into that if the time comes. But for right now, this is my only big form video on the Bulls. So if you're up first, like, it's kind of sucky because, you know, you don't get the whole experience of me talking about their full free agency and such on and so forth. But the Chicago Bulls, I don't know what goes on there. I really don't. I feel bad for Bulls fans. It's going to be another hard year for them, most likely. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys feel like liking, subscribing, if you think I described your team pretty much as well as I can, drop a like and all that sort of good stuff. And tomorrow or the day after or whenever I get the video out, it will be a Bucks video. The Bucks are tomorrow, which the Bucks are an interesting one. So I'll be able to deep dive into the Bucks tomorrow. I'll get to that, and I will see you guys then. Thank you, guys.